Hello, I hope that you are doing great. Today we are going to cover the material in chapter 9 and we are going to start basically creating a very simple database with one table, okay? Then let's move on. The first thing that we are going to do basically is to create we have to create a virtual environment and activate it in the boilerplate number 1. And basically what we are going to do is to install in this virtual environment the Flask and the Flask SQL commit. The thing that we have to do is to basically to install two versions of these two packages that are compatible, because if we download the versions that are now in the web page, these two versions are not compatible and therefore we cannot use them together. I will show you this in the lecture. Then basically here in the requirements I have the versions that are compatible, and then basically what we are going to do now is to install these packages that are compatible in our virtual environment. And to do that is very simple. You have to type pip install -r requirements txt, and you type enter, and you install basically Flask and Flask SQL commit. That are the packages that we need to create databases. Okay, we have concluded this process. Now I clear terminal and now we will start to work. I want to minimize the terminal, go to close this file, and I'm going to open the application. This is basically the boilerplate for our application, and then basically we have to do 4 steps. The first one is from Flask SQL Alchemy we have to import SQL Alchemy. Then the next thing that we have to do is to find a location for the database. Is application config, and here basically we introduce SQL Alchemy. Database URI, and we are going to place this database in our computer. Later on, when we kind of place this database in the server, we are going to create a Postgres database, but now for the development we are going to use SQLite database. And the good thing of using a SQLite database is that all the code that we are going to write in our application for create databases and data and the queries are compatible with Postgres SQL. And this is very nice because give us the opportunity to move from our computers from the development to the production in the server kind of straight away, and this is super useful. Then we are going to introduce this database, that is SQLite, and here basically this is going to be the name of our database, Carbon App database. And here basically the third step is to define the database. As usual, database is going to be SQL Alchemy application, and the last thing that we have to do is to create the table, and this is going to be a class that is going to be user db model, and here basically we have to define the table name. Is going to be user table. Is going to have an ID that is db column. This is going to be an integer, and it's going to be a primary key. Equal to true, and then username equal db column db string, cannot have more, I make a mistake here, column db string, and cannot have more than 30 elements, 30 letters. This has to be unique. We cannot have two names with two users with the same name, and this have to be nullable, is going to be false, in the sense that we cannot have an empty field there. Okay, we save it, and that's all. This is basically the 4 elements that we need to define our database. Now we go to the terminal again, go to maximize this, and now basically we have to do 4 things. This basically, we have to create a database. This is the first thing that we are going to do. Is we type Python, we enter in the Python console, and then basically from application import db, and now basically we type db create all, and we create a database. And basically you have seen here that basically now we have a Carbon app database, but this database now is empty. Then we need to start to populate this database with data, and this is what we are going to do, is from application import user, we import this class, and now we use it. User1 is going to be username equal to Bjork. This is my favorite tree. Then we have to add this user to the database, is session add user1. Then we create another user, user2 is equal to username is equal to fjell, that is mountain in Norwegian, db session add user2, and now we have to commit these changes. db session commit, and then basically we have added these 2 users to the database. And now basically what we are going to do is some queries. The first one is going to be user query first username, for example, and we have the first user is Bjork. We can also make another query, for example, user query filter by username equal fjell first, and we type here, for example, ID, and we have 2. And we can also, the last thing that we are going to do is to create variables. This is going to be very useful to use later on in the project. For example, user1, we are going to create this variable that is going to be user query get, and for example get1, and now we can use this user1 ID. The ID is number is 1, and user1, for example, username, and we click enter, and it's Bjork. Okay, That's conclude this video, but before to finish, basically what we have done is to use the command line, and this is super useful and we are going to use a lot. But I also would like to show you that you can access to your data by using a graphical user interface that is called BD Browser SQLite. You have the links to install this in the web page, and you have a version for Mac and a version for Windows. I have used both in both computers, then I know that this works, okay? For example, if I open a database and I go to the boilerplate one and I have here the Carbon app, I open this database. Basically here we have a database with an ID and a username, and here you can browse the data, and we have the Bjork and the field, okay? Okay, this concludes this video, and what basically we have done is to have a very simple application, and we have created one database with one table. In the next video, what we are going to do is to create one database, but with two tables that are connected between them. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. See you in the next video.